And there are a lot of I don't see color parents out there. And I think that's probably the worst thing to say. Honestly, I don't understand it. You're pretty much saying that you don't see me. There are people, anytime you bring up race, the first thing they say is, oh, I love everybody. I don't see color. You need to see color. Sorry, that's just what it is. It's reality. You can't sugarcoat it. This is real.
Welcome back to the Tailored to You podcast. This is going to be a different episode. We chuckle a little bit, but it's more of a deeper one. I'm really more so listening to my guest, Kisha Gulley, and she shares with me that she learned later in life to not just embrace her culture and herself, but to share it on her blog, The Kisha Project. Kisha says what you see is what you get with her, and I so appreciate her honesty when she calls out Mark Zuckerberg. Mark, this one's for you. Listen up. She shares her family's experiences being called a racial slur and why she advocates for autism, mental health, and racial justice and what they personally mean to her. We talk about the importance of mental health when experiencing anxiety or depression, and really her deciding factor to share this aspect of her life being that, quote, she can't be the only one. I want to also thank Kisha for educating me on her Afro-Latina culture and for being so candid about her life experiences. I learned so much, and you always think you know it all. I'm one of those people sometimes, and it really was an experience to remind myself that there's so much more to learn and educate yourself on. So I really thank Kisha for having this open conversation with me, and I hope you all feel the same way after listening. Please enjoy Kisha Gulley. Kisha, I'm just so happy that we got to do this. I know we were just talking before with my sister. We said we almost should have just had the microphones out because just found out you also lived in Logan Square.
I did.
Which is wild. I love any Chicago connection. And I feel like anyone in Arizona, as I've met here, has had some kind of Illinois tie.
Yes, I was a flight attendant. So I was based in Chicago for a while, and I decided to just move to Chicago. And I lived in Logan Square, like literally right across from the train station on top of a liquor store.
And so what was it like being a flight attendant? Because I don't like flying whatsoever. And your husband's also a pilot. So Is that how you all met?
If you ask him how we met, he's going to tell the story completely different. We had been working together for, I swear, it had to be 7 years before we actually even met each other. We were at the same company for like 7 years. And one day I was working this flight and we kind of just started chit-chatting and we were vibing. We would just see each other in passing. And he would make these jokes about, girl, when are you going to let me take you out? And it was like, come on, man, I don't stick my pen in the company ink, so to speak.
Oh, I've never heard that one.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't want to date anybody I work with. It's just awkward. But oh man, we would see each other all the time. And it's like, he just kind of really became one of my really best friends. But then I think about it now, but I would tell him about every guy I was dating because he was my friend. So it's like, you tell your guy friends, like, dude, what am I doing wrong? You know, I did this, I slept with this person.
Does he like me?
And he would give me all of this advice. So then when we really started dating, I was like, oh my God, you know all of my secrets. You know everybody
You've been in my closet. My skeletons are out.
Yes. And so, I mean, but it is good because, I mean, he knows me. So he's not going to be hit with any surprises. He knows everything about me. So it's good.
And so you guys lived in Chicago, but you've lived all over. And Arizona has been kind of a pivotal place for you all.
Right. It's crazy because he always likes to take the credit. He's like, thank me for bringing you here. Because we were in Texas and we had our first son and we were thinking about having another child, but we wanted to move because we didn't really, the house we were in wasn't very kid friendly. So he said, you know what? I don't want to raise my family here. I was like, cool. I said, but after I start having these babies, I'm not going to keep moving. So where do you want to retire? And that's where we're moving. And he was like, I want to get back to Phoenix because he used to be a flight instructor in Deer Valley. So that's it then. So I kind of had to keep pushing him because he would get sidetracked. And I was just getting pregnant. So
you're like, we need a plan. These babies are coming. I need a home. Let's do this.
Yes. So it was the summer and he came to see like the house that we're in now. And I told him, I said, I'm not going down there. Just FaceTime me so I can see the place and I would trust your judgment because it's too hot for me to be down there 20 months pregnant.
And also I feel like when you're that pregnant, you don't care about anything else. I mean, also, I don't know where I'm coming from. Like, I know I've never been
because every time I've been pregnant.
Yeah, I'm like, oh God, 20 months. That's just the killer.
I just wanted to make sure that we had a pool, and a pool that was kind of sectioned off from the rest because I didn't want, safety for the kids and everything. So we found it. And when we got down here, it's like you said, everything just kind of started popping off. I don't want to say like my career, so to speak, because I'm still a stay-at-home mom. However, with the blog and all of these opportunities I've had have all happened here in Phoenix, including everything that we've had happening for our son. We weren't getting the amount of support that I felt we really needed in Dallas.
And you've said too that it's been a group for you. There's been other moms you connected with, and I know you brought up your son. He does have autism, and so you're really someone who speaks on that and spreads awareness for it.
Right.
And I think it's just so important. That's why I was like, I got to get Kisha's perspective, because you're all over Instagram and social and talking about these conversations. And so can you kind of go through when you first got here and that whole, transition for your family and how you found out in that moment?
And honestly, just to backtrack a little, when we were in Texas, I always knew that something was going on, especially I wouldn't say that I knew it was autism. There was something going on with his speech, and I just couldn't get anybody to listen to me. I was talking to everybody, his pediatricians. I was trying to get him just a speech therapist. I would have paid for it out of pocket, just somebody to see my son. Not one person would take me seriously. They were like, oh no, he's fine. He's a boy. He'll talk when he feels like it. I don't think you understand. As a mother, you just know when something is up. And okay, fine. Maybe it is nothing, but I need you to just take me serious right now.
And give me some peace of mind. At least just, let's go through it.
I finally just randomly asked a mom. I was like, do you know any speech therapists around here? I just want somebody to talk to about my son. And so she told me to go online and fill out this information. Man, as quickly as I filled out that form online, a couple of days later, somebody contacted me, and it just started. From then, everything started. They came to the house, they evaluated him, they shared the same concerns that I did, and finally, I knew I wasn't crazy. I was like, thank you very much. I knew something was going on here.
Why do you think the other doctors in Texas weren't doing that?
Should
people be coming to Arizona to be a doctor, or like what's the sitch?
I really don't know. And maybe it was because he was kind of young and they just assumed that his speech would develop. However, kids should be hitting certain milestones at certain points. And even if kids just do things at their own time, there's still certain things that you should be looking out for. And he didn't have a certain amount of vocabulary words at a certain age. And I thought that that was cause for concern. So I understand that my kid is probably not going to be saying all the things that somebody else's kid is. However, I did feel like there should be certain milestones, and that's what I was looking at. And yeah, I try not to. You'll hear your friends saying, oh my gosh, my kid is walking. Everybody's kids were walking at like 8 months. My son wasn't walking until he was maybe 14, 15 months old. I get it. It happened a little bit slower than others. But yeah, when it came to the speech, it just set off a red flag for me. And even at the time, we had my son in a Spanish schoolhouse is what it's called. So it was complete Spanish all the time. And since I was speaking Spanish to him at home, I knew that I wanted him to be there as well. So some people were saying, it's because you're speaking Spanish to him. No. Do you know how many bilingual people there are in this world? No, that's not it.
If anything, that's making him more of an intellectual.
Right. I was like, no, that's not it. But thanks for trying. That's not it, though.
Does that frustrate you as a mom, when people say, well, maybe you shouldn't do that, or maybe it's because you did this?
They were telling me I was that mom. Oh, just calm down. Any woman hates to be told to calm down.
Oh my God, it's the worst. It's literally like, oh God, it just sets you off even more.
Yes.
It's like, well, I actually thought I was calm, but you're about to see me really need to calm down.
Right. So it's, just calm down. He's okay. Don't worry about it. Just, oh my gosh, people. I know what I'm talking about here. So yeah, when we got here and the wheels kind of started turning and everything started coming together, it was a breath of fresh air. And I was just so happy because he was finally getting the resources that he needed. And he's doing awesome now. He's doing so great. We have a really good team and we thrive on communication. My husband and I love to communicate with other people, with each other, and we need to know what's going on. And we're very involved in like every aspect, school, therapy, everything. So he's been doing amazing.
And you said too, I know you just said kind of a breath of fresh air. I read in one of your blogs, you said that when you first found out about his diagnosis, that you were relieved.
Because before that point, we didn't know what was going on. And before he had the autism diagnosis, they said he had sensory processing disorder. And I can see that. There was a lot of things he was doing. And we didn't know how can you help someone when you don't really know what it is you're dealing with. So after they told us, I was like, finally, now we have a name for it. Now we know what we need to do. And moving forward, we know exactly what treatments, what plans, everything, the therapy that's required for him. So it is a breath of fresh air because now we know how to move going forward. Now we know how to educate ourselves and we know how to help our son.
And not feel just stuck
Yes.
with those questions in your mind. And so there was a sense of relief, but what other emotions did you feel in that moment?
I cried. I didn't know if it was, I felt a lot, honestly, but I feel a lot all the time. And I did cry because I was just thinking about him. You know, what is this going to mean for him? I am, especially with my husband too. I'm the same way with all of my guys because I'm in a house full of men here. I'm overprotective over all of them. So I know I want to be a mama bear, even to my husband sometimes, because he's a really nice guy. So when anybody's mean to him, I'm like, hold on. Hold on. This is a nice guy right here.
Yeah. Who do you think you're talking to?
Yes.
You're to face me in about 5 minutes.
Yes. So that's how I felt in that moment. I was just thinking about his entire life, what challenges he was going to have to face, and everything else that was just going to have to, the journey that we were about to embark on pretty much. But yeah. And then at the same time, the lady that we went to, when she was describing it, she kind of described it like it was a really horrible thing. And so I guess I was just overwhelmed with emotion. But then afterwards, you know, I did have to educate myself because it's like, it's not as bad as she was trying to make it.
And it was the way
seem.
the doctor was describing it to you?
Yes. I don't know why she was describing it the way she was, but then when I went to research a little bit more about this particular doctor, other people kind of said the same things about her. Like, she gave them the worst case scenario, and it's like, whoa, okay.
Which I think sometimes they want to prepare you for those situations,
Yes.
but that's what another question I had for you, kind of going off of that. Do you think autism is stigmatized?
You know, I have tried very hard, even now, in educating myself to listen to individuals who are actually autistic. And I think that's the most important thing. It's kind of like the whole race thing. You can't tell me what is or isn't racist. I'm a Black person. So I can't tell you what it is or doesn't feel like to be autistic. I'm not an autistic individual. When she was describing it, I don't think she was coming from the place of someone who actually knew and felt like or feels like what it is to be autistic. Yeah, I appreciated her expertise. However, I did know that I was going to have to do a lot more reading and educating because this wasn't it. And that's why even with my blog, I'm sharing my experience. And I always tell people, I'm not an expert. I can only tell you what we're going through and our experiences. And my son is happy. He's learning. His speech he's saying complete sentences now at a point where he was nonverbal.
What was it like when he first said mom?
It was awesome. And I remember thinking to myself, you hear the jokes about how, you know, people get tired of their kids saying mom. And I kept saying, I can't wait for that. And now he says it all the time. And it's a good feeling. Anytime we hear him say anything, we're always in awe. We sit back and we say, did you hear what he just said? Yeah, I can't believe he just said that. Did you see that? Yes.
And it's something too, I love how you said, when he says something, you're in awe, when maybe we do take speech for granted.
We do. And I say that before, communication and in any relationship is extremely important. And I know a lot of times people are talking about like communication in their marriages or in their friendships or whatever. I always try to tell people I did take it for granted, and we value communication so much because there was a time where we could not communicate with our son. We never knew what was going on. We didn't know what he needed. He would just be crying. We didn't know what was going on. So now that we can communicate with him, we communicate a lot around here. We narrate everything around here, but that's because we want him to use his words, and we want our other son to also use his words. Our youngest son is almost 2. And we want to make sure that we are giving him the same support that we give his older brother.
I was going to ask, what's the dynamic between the two? I see you post the Gulley boys. They're so cute. I cannot take it. I need one of them to run out here in a minute.
Oh my gosh. My youngest son, he loves his big brother. He does. And he repeats everything that he says, everything. And we did, for a brief second, we thought that maybe he was going to be autistic as well. So there was a program here. My oldest son went through a program through SARC. So they had a program for the siblings of autistic individuals just to make sure that they're hitting milestones and goals and things like that. So they're kind of on the lookout for anything. And initially we were like, he's not saying anything. And then we found out we weren't engaging him enough. And I felt horrible because I just assumed, hey, I am engaging him. And when they kind of taught us how to be more engaging with our son, I was blown away because it was just little things I was taking for granted. And he got in this first session with this lady and he was just babbling. And so she said it does tend to happen. I focus so much on my older son. I was not giving him as much attention as I should have. And I did feel bad for that because I didn't even notice I was doing it.
On your platform, do you receive questions from people? Do people go to you a lot when it comes to this topic?
I do. And I think because, especially with us, we had a lot of questions in the beginning, like, is this normal? My kid is doing this and my kid is doing that. And, the number one thing we would think to do is let's go to Google. We couldn't find any information. And I think it's because people just don't talk about certain things. I'm like, why are we not, how am I not able to find more information about this? I know other parents probably deal with things that I don't deal with and vice versa, but I can only speak from my own experience. So, hey, you might be going through the same thing. So let me tell you what's happening. I might not know the answers right now, but keep following me and I'll tell you what I find out.
That's kind of how it all started too. When you started journaling, you really did it because you were going through a lot. You said you were dealing with, emotionally, mentally, physically, and you were just open about it. And then you decided to create the Kisha project.
Yes.
So can you kind of go through that whole process of putting yourself out there? Because for me, even with doing this, I think putting yourself out there is something that's really difficult. And, you got to be ready for the haters.
You just don't know how you're going to be received.
You don't.
Yeah. It started because I was going through postpartum depression. And mental health is not something that everybody wants to talk about. And I understand because you don't want to be labeled the crazy person. And I feel even for most of my life, whenever I was feeling anything emotionally, people in my family would say, well, Kisha's crazy. And so stuff like that will make you not want to speak or say anything. So I did start journaling and writing stuff down. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to start a blog because I can't be the only one. And I did. It took a lot because I knew people were going to know this lady's depressed. And you can be completely happy. Like you can have everything and still feel sadness. And you don't know why you're sad or you don't know why you're anxious, because I have anxiety as well. And sometimes I don't even sleep. I don't know what it is that's making me anxious. I'm just very anxious. And you can't describe it. And people will say to you, I don't understand why you're depressed. You're a stay-at-home mom. Your bills are paid. You got a great family. That's not how it works. And I needed to talk about those feelings because you have to be able to share sometimes with people. And I did. I start receiving messages from people telling me thank you because I was feeling the same thing. But you don't want people to think you're crazy because there's this stigma attached to it. And then on top of that, people start questioning your parenting when they feel that you're not well. Sometimes they don't understand that is probably the one thing that I try to make sure I do my very best at, parenting my kids, because I don't want that to ever come into question.
This episode of the Tailored to You podcast is sponsored by Atmos Coffee Shop, a specialty coffee shop with a heart for its local community right here where I live in Chicago. Atmos is located in Humboldt Park near the corner of North Avenue and Western, and they provide locally roasted coffee drinks, pastries, small bites. I mean, I love coffee. I really do. And honestly, I probably don't need it. I wake up like the Energizer Bunny, but I do drink it. But sometimes you just want a pastry. So this was a spot that I definitely will go to for that. They pride themselves on creating unique lattes and cold brew mocktails. Maybe Antoine, should we add some cocktails in this? I'll be there on a Friday that do pair well with their delicious food items. Additionally, they do offer Barista training program to local youth with a passion for entering the coffee industry. And they really look at the role of a barista as a trade. And with this training program, they hope to eliminate one barrier to entry into the coffee industry for the Black and Brown community. So go give them a follow on Instagram at Atmos Coffee Shop to stay up to date with their exciting offerings and events that they host. I just so appreciate your honesty. I think it's so important. And coming off of that too, you spoke in a recent article that you did therapy. So I've never done therapy, and I would think I really would enjoy it.
Right. I think it started even before I was having kids. I was been depressed a few times in life. I think the problem is it was never addressed. A lot of times, and this happened here, even in Facebook groups. It's a love-hate relationship with Facebook groups, because I did join quite a few of them for different reasons, for moms, for pilot wives, or for, special needs parents. And you're always going to get those people who are so judgy. I had to find a space that was safe for me. And as a person of color, there's a lot that I go through that I feel like other people cannot relate to. I would be in these groups, and there would be even questions about, my son, because he does have sensory processing disorder, getting his hair cut was kind of it's hard because he's sensitive. He's very sensitive. So the other moms would say, well, just don't cut his hair and this. I don't think you understand how that works for people of color. Black people hair is completely different. I can't just let it completely grow out like that. It's harder. And so there would be questions even so simple about, like, we call 4C hair, our hair type. And I have curly hair. I wear my hair natural. So if I'm talking about my natural hair or even sunscreen, it's not racist for me to say, sorry, Taylor, I can't ask you about it because I know it's not the same. And it's just simple things like that people kind of don't understand, and they start taking things personal when we start looking for spaces for ourselves. They take it personal because Black people need therapy from Black individuals. I need to have a therapist who understands what I'm dealing with as a person of color. I can come to you as my doctor and say, you know what, I'm feeling a lot of stress and anxiety because there's a lot of racial stuff going on out here today. And you might not know what I'm talking about because you don't live that life. And it's not personal. I just need to find some place where I can get the help that I need. And that's how, even when I went to my doctor here, she's a very nice lady, love her to death. But my son, my 4-year-old son, got called the N-word by his peers. It broke my heart. And I was crying. So it just kind of made me feel, I just had so many emotions. And I was talking to the doctor about it, and I could tell by the look on her face that she wanted to understand, but she didn't quite get it. She was trying to be very supportive, and I understand, but at the same time, I don't know if she honestly understood how deeply that affected me, especially with everything going on, and there was nothing I could really do about it. I mean, all I can do is be there for my son, educate my son, but I can't do anything to that kid. He's a kid. Learned behavior. I'm sure he got it somewhere. Can I go talk to his parents about it? Probably, but I'm sure they know. So it's just a lot to deal with. But again, it's something that I knew I had to speak with someone who knew what I was going through.
I'm so sorry that happened to your son and your family. That is horrible. And what you were mentioning too is that you could talk to the parent, but they know and they probably heard it somewhere.
Yes. And there are a lot of I don't see color parents out there. And I think that's probably the worst thing to say. Honestly, I don't understand it. You're pretty much saying that you don't see me. There are people, anytime you bring up race, the first thing they say is, oh, I love everybody. I don't see color. You need to see color. Teach your children that, yes, differences do exist. However, we love people anyway. So teaching your kid that, no, we're colorblind is not the way to go. You need to teach your children why certain differences exist. Sorry, that's just what it is. It's reality. You can't sugarcoat it. This is real. Yes, Santana is a black kid. Yes, you are a white kid. You're different in these ways, but guess what? You're still going to treat Santana with respect. And that's really, it doesn't have to be so hard. I don't know why people make it so hard.
You posted something recently, and someone, speaking of the N-word, someone had commented and said that to you, and you responded, you got the right one today.
Yes.
And then in your post, you said, hashtag Mark Zuckerberg ain't shit. And so I want to kind of go through this, because right now, I mean, censorship is being talked about. And so can you kind of go through that whole experience? Because your account did get restricted for a little bit.
And it was crazy because I'm the one getting called the N-word and I'm being attacked. And you know what? They love to do this. They love to tell you that it's always and I don't want to say all religious people are like these, but somebody did call me the N-word on public social media, and other people came in saying they were going to pray for me. Pray for that guy. No, don't pray for me. I don't know who you're praying to. I don't know what you're praying about. Pray for yourself. Because if you think you can just call people the N-word and then say, I'm going to pray for you, no. And then after that, I got a message saying I was about to be restricted. I'm sorry. I'm not sure, because I told him he's got the right one today. No, you really think that you're going to call me that and I'm not going to ask you what your cross streets are? You can catch these hands. No, people are crazy. I think that for a long time, people have treated certain individuals a certain way, and bullies do that. You are not going to talk to me like that. Now, there's a lot of stuff you just let pass, but you really think you're going to call somebody the N-word and nothing's going to happen to you in your life? And that's how I feel. If you're bold enough to say it like that and it was in like one of our community pages. So it's somebody who lives right here. I'm going to see you at Target. I'm going to see you at Safeway. I'm going to see you at Fry's. And I want you to keep that same energy. What was you saying on the internet?
Do you think that person got restricted as well? I mean, let's hope.
No.
You don't think?
No, because
that is absolutely crazy.
We talked to a couple of people, and I know it sounds cliche, like all the black people know each other here, but I talked to a couple of the other people that live here, and they sent me receipts, and they were saying, you know what, this family in particular does this. And you know what was crazy was Halloween came up a few weeks after that. And this lady in the community Facebook group gives this same guy who called me the N-word a shout out, because apparently they're like a part of this neighborhood watch crew. Neighborhood watch, right? They're part of this neighborhood watch crew, and they were keeping the kids safe. Not my kids, maybe your kids, but they not keeping my kids safe, because guess what? He called me the N-word. So they deleted my comment. Guess what? I've got time today. I'm going to comment again. And I've got the receipts to prove it, because I never forget people who call me racist stuff, especially in my own community, because I need to know if I'm going to see you again.
It's not like it's just one person randomly, like a random little troll, sending something. No. It's literally someone that you walk among. And that is what is scary.
Yes. And so a couple of other people came back and they said, hey, she's not the only person it's happened to. Let me tell you what he called me. And boom, screenshot. Somebody else, boom, screenshot. All of our comments got magically deleted. I was like, really, Mark? Really? The person you guys should have been censoring, you didn't. So
right. And that's what's the freaky part.
Right.
And people are seeing that.
Right. I don't even know if it's just like an automated system, but all right, did you restrict that person's account too? Because I don't understand it. I don't get it.
Are there any other lessons when it comes to that? I know you say you teach your children, we do see color. We do acknowledge our differences. Are there any other lessons that you really try to, filter in with them?
I do, especially with my culture, because I am Panamanian. I'm a Black Latina person. Sometimes people don't know that the two are not mutually exclusive. You can be Black and you can be Latin simultaneously. So I do have to explain that to them. You are Black, but you're also a person of Latin descent. Your mother is not from here. I do speak Spanish. I was born in Panama. And so were your grandparents and your aunts and your uncles, So I try to make sure they know about our culture, because a lot of people, this is stuff we're still dealing with. We're still having to explain to people that we're out here, that I'm Black, but I speak Spanish.
And you said that when you were a flight attendant, you would explain to even your crew. When you speak Spanish, they'd be so confused.
And especially when you're a crew member, you would have these same conversations. Anytime you get on a plane with a person, you have to kind of go through these introductions. Hi, my name's so-and-so. I commute from here, or I live here. I'm based here. And it's like every single time you're having these conversations. So sometimes I wouldn't, because I did grow up in Arkansas. However, I don't have a Southern accent, as you could tell. I don't sound like I'm from Arkansas. So I would tell people I'm from Arkansas, and they would say, no, you're not. Where are you from? I'm like, okay, so this is the thing. I'm born in Panama. I am Panamanian, but I grew up in Arkansas, and I do speak Spanish. Spanish was my first language, is my first language. And, I kind of have to go through this whole spiel all the time.
You've said that when you were growing up there, you tried to fit in. And then you said later in life that you wish you would have embraced that.
Growing up, I don't think I ever, I know I never said, oh, I'm an Afro-Latina. No, that wasn't really something that I said. I was the girl who had a mom who spoke funny, or I was the girl with quote unquote good hair. Growing up, it was weird because it was almost like I was living two lives. I had the life at home that I would come home to this mom who makes rice and chicken and rice, and who would listen to salsa every day, and we're watching novelas at night. And then I'd have to come back to school the next day, and I couldn't really explain these things because they wouldn't really, it's not like they would get it. I mean, I don't want to say they're from Arkansas. Their lives were nowhere near the same as mine. So no, they wouldn't get it.
So at what age were you just like, F this, I'm going to be who I am. I'm Kisha Gulley, and I'm going to start saying I am an Afro-Latina.
Well, back then I was Kisha Wright. But
right. right.
But till I got older, that I really started embracing myself. I started liking myself a little bit more because, when I was younger, I probably didn't like myself as much as I should have. Thinking back on it, it's why I try to make sure that my kids are a little bit different, because I really wasn't taught enough about myself or loving myself properly. And I think that's why I try to make sure that I do that for my own children, because I don't really want them to feel like I did growing up. And it wasn't until maybe I got in college and I started meeting other Latinas that I started embracing my culture a lot more. And I wouldn't even say embracing per se. It was more so sharing, because at home, I always was a Latina person.
What is the message you want your following to take with you when they view your feed, read your blog, see you at Target?
Honestly, what you see is what you get with me. I'm always pretty honest about a lot of stuff. You might not like what I have to say, but I'm going to say it. I do. I try to be very honest. I do. I try to be very honest whenever I do anything, or even when I'm working on any new projects. If it doesn't resonate with me, I'm not going to do it. But I try to be open and honest with people. And sometimes people can take it, but I'm not for everyone at the same time. And I understand that. I get it. I'm not for everyone. I try to tell people, my mom never raised us to be mean or fight or whatever, but she did raise us to defend ourselves, to always stand up for ourselves. I will always treat people with respect. However, if you do get beside yourself, you can catch me outside.
How about that? I loved that meme. And then, speaking of that, you said that the people around you who speak up out and stand up for injustices are, those who inspire you, even when it's uncomfortable.
They do. And especially I saw it kind of with, I like to call it, black box Instagram, when it kind of came out and everybody was like saying they wanted to be down for us. And I had a lot of new followers that came after that. And then afterwards, that was it. And I remember even reaching out to a couple of people. I don't ever try to put anybody out there on social media, but like I will message them and say, hey, you kind of said something that was off the wall or did something, they might not have known what they said was offensive, so I do kind of try to have teachable moments here. Everybody doesn't like to hear that. So it's like, if you're going to stand up for something, don't just do it when it's convenient or you saw that everybody else jumped on this bandwagon. If you're not about that life, then that's fine, because everything isn't for everybody. You don't have to just jump on these bandwagons just because you see everybody do it. If you want to just sit back and help in some other way, that's fine. But don't start something you're not going to finish. You can be doing the work. I try to share information if I have it. I also was trying to share Black mental health professionals as well, because some people need that, but not just Black. If I knew a ton of like Native American professionals, I'm going to share that too. I would just share the information.
Well, I'm so happy you are. You're sharing everything with us, Kisha. You're such an open book. I just thank you for being so open with me. And I've learned so much from you. Seriously, it's such an eye-opening experience for me as well. So I think that's the most important thing that comes out of these conversations is learning and just trying to educate yourself. That's what I'm trying to do in general. And thank you for doing that for me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, of course. Good old Arizona. Now I get to go lay out today in the heat, 80 degrees. Gotta love it.
Right? While our friends freeze in Chicago.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Tailored to You podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google, Stitcher, Spotify. Leave us a rating and review, and follow on Instagram and Facebook at T2U Podcast. And I really do encourage you to make this podcast tailored to you. So go ahead and visit T2Upodcast.com and submit questions you might have for me, for the guests, types of guests you want to see on, possibly you. Send it in. Topics of interest, really anything you want. And let's keep talking on Tuesdays.